everyone, how's everything going? I got my son here, Killian, right?
Yeah.
Yep, and we are the Wapsie River Rats. So before we go ahead and continue with this story that we're going to be telling, well, I'm going to be telling, but he's probably going to be sitting off with his tablet, playing with it and everything. But before we go ahead, and please hit that notification bell, hit subscribe, and leave a comment down and below, so that way it helps us out, helps this little guy out and everything. So but today we're going to talk about the person that inspired me to love fishing, and that person would be your great grandpa Keith Koile.
Oh.
Yep. So we're going to be telling the story about that and how everything came together with the YouTube channel, the name, everything else, and just other stuff that we're going to that has inspired me to help teach this kid everything that I know, right? He's not paying attention. So, yeah, you can go ahead and sit back down.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so what the story is going to entail is, like I said, my great grandpa Keith Koile, and from the time that he was born, back in August of, I'm gonna try and say 1925, maybe a little bit later, earlier than that, but it was in the 1920s. He was born during the Great Depression, and he grew up on the logging camps of northern Wisconsin, up there by the Great Lake Superior Lake, and it was really tough growing up there. He was the oldest of all his siblings. He did have a sibling that did pass away at birth, and he was the oldest. And so it was very tough during that era. He told me stories about how it would get so cold that there would be icicles, frost on the ceilings of his cabin, and so he told stories about that, how it got really so cold there, and everything that he would have to bundle up in, using corn cobs to light the fireplace and keep the heat going, and in the cabin that they grew up in, and but other things like that, such as hunting, fishing, everything that they caught, shot, killed, they ate. And he told stories of that his dad would have to lose the game wardens up there because he was wanted for poaching. But it was so tough during that era that they didn't really have much to eat, and so you had to do what you had to do. Now, I don't condone that. I don't condone that at all in the age that we are now. We still have money in our bank accounts and everything else, but only keep what you can keep, what you deserve to keep, and harvest what you plan to eat. That's the way I believe how things should go. But back then, I mean, you had to do what you had to do to survive. But this guy, when I came along, I looked up to him. He was absolutely my hero. He's the one that got me inspired to do all the fishing, do the hunting. And granted, when he went out and hunted, we hunted the way him and his dad hunted. But now things have changed. Hunting styles have changed from when I became friends with Colin Connor, and he taught me how to bow hunt and his style of hunting, which is, I'll tell you, a lot better than the way my grandpa taught me. But nonetheless, he was still my hero. I looked up to him, and I still look up to him, even though he's not with me today. He did pass away in 2014, and I believe it was 2014. Yeah. So, and he was the one that taught me everything there is that I know with fishing. And granted, I've learned a lot more than that, than what he's taught me, but he was my inspiration to do what needed to be done. Now, when his family moved down from northern Wisconsin, they built a farm, or bought a farm down here, and that is where my grandpa met my grandma, Helen Koile. And they met at a place called the Coliseum, and it was a place that they would go and dance, regular polka music, big band music, I believe. They never really said what type of music was there, but that's where they met. Eventually they got married. They ended up having 4 girls, and they moved back to Wisconsin, moved back down here to Iowa and all that. But when I came along, I remember going up the hill. My parents bought a house right next to theirs, and my grandparents built the house that they lived in, and they built a house right next to their house, and they rented the house out that I'm living at right now to renters and everything. But eventually, when the farm crisis happened, they sold it to my parents, and then I grew up right next to them. And so I grew up in this house, and mainly my playground was a creek that flowed right next to it. And this creek had pretty much almost anything that you could ask for. I mean, between turtles, frogs, minnows, I explored this creek. I would flip over rocks, see what was underneath the rocks. The little invertebrates, the little snails, crawfish, things like that would be underneath those rocks. I'd be chasing them, trying to catch the frogs, and I just explored that creek. This creek here, it was my playground growing up. And this creek flowed out to what we call, or what is named, the Little Wapsie River. And I went to the school, joined the school. Well, my parents sent me to school at a place called Wapsie Valley Elementary, Junior, Senior High School. And I graduated from there. And the high school is out in the middle, pretty much in the middle of a cornfield. And the big Wapsie River, the big Wapsipinicon River, flows right next to it. And across a wildlife area called Leopold Access. And the state of Iowa owns that chunk of ground. It's public ground. You can hunt it, you can fish it, whatever you like, explore trails, stuff like that. And then the big Wapsipinicon flows right next to that. So that's how the school became known as Wapsie Valley. And while I was going to school there, we had our rivals, just like every school has. Our rival was the Denver Cyclones, and they called us the Wapsie River Rats. So that's how the name came to be for the YouTube channel. But I'll get to that here in a bit. And so growing up, hunting and fishing, and mainly we hunted and fished the big Wapsie River. And we hunted deer. My friend Colin and I, we would hunt deer, we would hunt turkey. And the landowner that we got permission, that owns land right next to the Wapsie River, He would hunt ducks, geese, whatever. I mean, it is the ultimate place to really go hunt and fish is the Wapsie River. And there's a lot of walleye. There's northern, there's smallmouth, there's crappie, bluegill, rock bass, a lot of things. You can hunt it. Turkey, deer, duck, goose, whatever you'd like. And yeah, so then I eventually went off to school for landscaping and didn't enjoy that, but one of my favorite classes was woody plant materials, and we learned both the common name and the genus name, or the scientific botanical name of native trees to Iowa. And so I decided to try and go and take natural resources, and that was my favorite subject to learn, was anything and everything DNR. So eventually went to school for that, and but I wanted to become a forester, but come to find out, for the state of Iowa, you have to move. There's only 2 district foresters, and good luck on becoming a forester here in Iowa. Pretty much, you would have to move out of state to become a forester somewhere else, and I didn't want to do that. So I gave up that and went to go work for John Deere in their foundry. Got laid off from John Deere. Surprise, surprise. Everybody eventually does get laid off. If you don't, then you're one of the lucky ones to pretty much have a permanent job at John Deere. But then I ended up getting a job at Do It Molds, and absolutely great place to work. But there is some hard work in there and whatnot. Pretty much you have to, if you want to work there and you're young and not so bright, you're going to end up working in the foundry, which is hard work. But I learned a lot of stuff from that place, a lot of stuff. And that's where I acquired a lot of these molds that I have here. They're molds that there's something wrong with them, and defects that you don't want to sell out to the public and everything. And so I acquired the molds because I'm like, I'll use them. I mean, I have no problem using a mold that has some sort of defect in it that they don't want to give out to the public, you know. And that's where it just kind of clicked with me. I'm making stuff on my own, not having to go buy five jigs for $5, you know, and you can make up a lot for what you pay for, little to nothing for the components, hooks, components, whatever, for the molds and whatnot. And that's what my grandpa pretty much did his whole life, was make stuff on his own. If he did not have it, he figured out a way to make it. That man could make almost anything and everything out of nothing. Oh my God. And he was a MacGyver, an absolute MacGyver. That's where he learned it, was from being in the Depression. I mean, you couldn't buy anything really. You reused whatever you can to make whatever you needed, and you made it work. One way or another, you made it work. And I remembered the one day when I had my permit, he wanted to start making his own lures, jigs, sinkers, weights, whatever. And he handed me the keys to his car and he said, let's go. We're going to head up to Prairie du Chien, go to Cabela's, and we're going to buy a Do It mold. little little be known to us that it was 25 minutes away. We could have bought the bolt mold there instead of driving all the way to Prairie du Chien, an hour and some odd minutes away, and go up there. And so we get there after he pretty much said, here you go, you're driving. I found my way there. He never really gave me any directions besides, hey, turn here, hey, turn there. And went in, got the mold, came back home with some lead that he had laying in the corner, and don't know where the lead came from or anything. And he grabbed a tire rim and a cast iron pot that he had, threw the lead in there, threw a torch underneath the tire rim and under the pot, and melted it down, and he made a ladle out of nothing that he had laying around, and he ladled the lead right into the mold, made it work for himself. And that's when we started making our own weights. And I still have those molds and that we bought, and that's what we used. We made up enough to last me for ever and a day, and I still have some to this day. And that's one of my memories of them, was making jigs. And yeah, so now it expanded to all the molds that I have now through making soft baits, jigs, weights, sinkers, whatever. And we went fishing with that stuff that we made, and we caught a lot of fish with the stuff that we made. And that man would not throw a fish away, no matter if it meant undersized bass, undersized bluegill, if it was a bullhead, whatever. He did not throw it away. He didn't. We ate it. We kept it. We ate them. And I don't think he ever thought about really ever throwing anything away, throwing anything back. We kept everything that we caught and ate it. And then it came down to me going off to college, and then I was in college and I hung around and helped him out with stuff around the house, everything. And yeah, so but that was that. And so got the job at Do It Molds, where there was some people that still lived in Denver. They made jokes about me being at school, calling us Wapsie River Rats and bunch of rats and bunch of this, bunch of that, and everything else. And then had my boy in 2018, and then he learned what YouTube was, and he wanted to start making his own videos. So I already had a channel up from hunting and stuff, threw some stuff together, and I really didn't know anything about YouTube or anything. And I was like, all right, well, get something made, get something started, because when talking to my mom and wishing that we had some stories from way back when of Grandma and Grandpa and the stories that they had, and what stories that we do remember we would tell. Well, this form here, just tell what you have, record, document it, throw it up on YouTube. And so I was like, what am I going to name it? So I started thought up of homesteading channel. Well, homesteading is wide and broad. I mean, you can include hunting and fishing into it, and gardening and stuff, but you're jumping back and forth between, people that just want to know this or just want to know that, and you want to niche it down. So then I came up with North Country Outdoors. Well, North Country is really Minnesota. It's not Iowa. And then it just popped in my head, just clicked. Wapsie River Rat Fishing, right next to the river. Little Wapsie flows by my house, and well, pretty much almost by my house. It's about 200 yards from my house, but I can't get on it. I have to go through somebody else's property to get to it, and because my grandparents don't live next door anymore, so I can't get on that property anymore to get back there. I wish we could, but I just clicked, just thought Wapsie River Rat, because we live on it. We hunt it, we fish it, and whenever you need some time alone, go to the river, go to the Wapsie. Want to do some exploring, go to the Wapsie. Want to do some hunting, go to the Wapsie. Want to do some fishing real quick, don't really have to take a trip anywhere, don't really feel like driving anywhere, go to the Wapsie. So that's how the name came to be. Now, when a person thinks of a river rat, why would you include a river rat in that? Well, it was a demeaning joke according to the students of Denver, the town of Denver. But to me, a river rat, it was named after beaver, muskrat, nutria, but mainly the muskrat. And because they live on the river, they can go other places where there isn't water, but they mainly live in water, on lake, on some sort of body of water. Some sort of body of water. Hey bud, shh. And so, but when you think of that, when you think of a river rat now as a person, as a somebody would think of some hillbilly, some redneck, somebody that lives in a shack, doesn't own a whole hell of a lot, doesn't have a whole lot of education and all that. But to me, that someone knows a lot more than the average person that lives in town, because they're surviving off the land. They're hunting, they're fishing, they're gardening. They're getting by with what they don't have to spend their money on. They're thrifty, and they're relying on themselves to survive. And they know things that other people don't know. Now that's somebody that I would look up to, because I would want to know those things. I would want to know what's the best way of getting close to that deer. What is the best... My bird clock's going off. But what is the best way? Where would you go and hide to get to be close to the deer, to harvest that deer? Where are the spots on the river to catch walleye, northern bass, bluegill, crappie, perch? That way you're not wasting that time of trying to find those spots. And it's just kind of hard to explain. Now that somebody would know the woods, would know the river, know it like the back of your hand, would know what trees to put your stand in. What are the name of those trees? What type of trees are they? What plant is this? What plant is that? Can I eat this plant? Can I not eat this plant? Is that plant poisonous? If I touch it, do I get a rash? Can I harvest that plant? Can I harvest that root? Can I harvest that mushroom? Where's the most traveled trail that the deer and turkey take? That's the person that I would look up to. Now, my grandpa was that somebody, but he was more of a person that loved to farm, loved to harvest. He was always out in the gardening. I mean, he would pull up onions that were about that big, that big around. His tomatoes were red, like a deep dark red. They were soft. They weren't hard and hard to cut into. I mean, like you would get in a grocery store. And he knew what was the best fertilizer to put into the garden. Now, granted, it was manure. It was sheep manure, because the Amish around here would bring a sheep and bring it out to his place and keep the grass mowed down and everything, and he wouldn't have to maintain the pasture or anything. And he had that relationship with the Amish. But that was the person that I did look up to, and like I said, he was my hero and all that, and everything. So now, coming down to the YouTube deal, now I pretty much got this started for my boy and I. Now my little girl, his sister, will be in on this, videoing stuff when we're out fishing, when we're out in the woods and everything, and all that, so that way it's documented. They can have something to look back on. And now the people out on YouTube, the community out on YouTube, can look in on this documentation of the life that we live, and enjoy it, hear the stories and everything of their grandparents, them, see, watch the life that we live. That way it's documented, and then I have something to look back on, and watching them grow up, become the person that they're willing to be, and I don't have to try and rely on my memory. I can just look back out on the videos on this channel, and they can do the same too. I mean, if something happens to me and I get hit by a bus someday and I'm no longer around, they can look back on this video, on these videos, and remember what it was like and everything. So, but yeah, so that's what it is. That's how the name came to be. That's what the channel is going to be about: hunting, fishing, offering knowledge, entertainment, catching fish, making jigs, making soft baits. Now, right now, I'm making the diner shiner from Do It Molds, and I'm just cutting the sprues off, cleaning them up and everything, and so that way when I go to put some powder coat on it, powder paint, they're ready to go. But yeah, so guys, I think that's going to be it. So, hey bud, come here. Want to tell everybody see ya? Want to tell everybody see ya? You can tell everybody bye.
Bye.
So that's alright. That's it, people, guys. So get over here, and we're gonna let you guys go. That's all we have for today. Like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and we'll see you out on the river, right bud? Yep, we'll see you guys later.